Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Hi everybody, it's Dr. Gemma. Welcome back to the Cognitive Podcast. This is episode 19, and as I'm recording this, it is 8:12 p.m., which of course should probably be 7:12 p.m., but we sprang forward today on Sunday, March 14th. It's nice to have you all back. I wanted to tell you we had winter again, so thank goodness the clocks turned forward just in time for more winter. But we've had a beautiful cold week here on the farm, and it's going to be fun to tell you about things. So any and all comments are very, very welcome. You can comment on our blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com, or you can comment on our group on Ravelry if that's still a good place for you. You can add yourself to our Cognitive Listeners map. There is a link in the show notes, of course. And you can also follow the link in the show notes to my YouTube channel, creatively and originally named Dr. Gemma, 2 words completely spelled out. On the YouTube channel, I have flash tips, which are 1 minute or less, about surviving the initial quarantine, and then longer discussions of strategies that I use frequently in therapy. So far, no cognitive fiber retreat this year, but I'm getting a little nervous that we might have to think one up for 2022 at the latest. Please be aware that I'm having a problem with robo accounts on Instagram, more than on Facebook, but both. All I'm going to say is I started saying nice things to Joe Biden's account on Instagram, and the minute I did, I started getting hit with pornography robots. So that's an interesting way to fight back, all you non-Biden fans. Anyway, so I'm not really taking new followers on Instagram. And alas, another friend of mine just got slammed with phony bots herself this week, so they're not taking it well. That's all I can tell you. Some people don't know how to lose gracefully. At any rate, you can follow me on the group on Ravelry, or you can follow us on the podcast blog here at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com. And I'm happy to answer comments in either place. In the warm thanks department, first of all, I'd like to thank Mary Ellen, who is also MT Fiber Arts, which could be Mountain Fiber Arts, Mount Fiber Arts, or Montana Fiber Arts. I'm sorry if I'm not that bright. But anyway, thank you very much for the delicious coffee. And then there was Anne or Megan, I'm a little confused by this one, for another delicious set of coffees. Thank you very much, ladies. I am delighted to have you along for the ride. And yum, if I do say so myself. Hello to all the new kids. I've realized I have a few. I don't know where you all are coming from, but I'm very grateful to have you along. Thank you, Nana Sue, for the very happy message on Ravelry, especially. I love when people write in, so welcome to the gang. Please add your introduction to the group on Ravelry to that thread in our forum. Okay, so now you're all wondering, what's on my hooks and needles today? Well, last week, I was talking about how I was using my projects page really like something of a queue. When I had extra yarn sitting around, I was making up projects I could use it for and entering it on my projects page. Now, any of you with any sense are saying, but Gemma, you could do that in your queue. Yes. Yes, I could. And am I doing it? No. Would it be sensible? Of course it would. Am I basically sensible? Are you kidding me? If I was sensible, I would have gotten an MBA at the Wharton School and I'd be filthy rich right now. Instead, I'm a struggling psychologist with a sense of humor on a llama farm in the desert. So, I guess that's the short answer to Yeah, I'm not making much sense, am I? So there I was making the podcast, looking at all those blank pictures. So of course I just went startitis crazy and did a bandana cowl. I had leftover bulky yarn in Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Superwash Bulky, I believe, in a color called Aurora Heather. I tell you this because I love you. Because you see, every year this time, Knit Picks has a sale on green yarn. That's how I got my sweater. In fact, I'm actually wearing that sweater right now. The one I made was an Agnes in the bulky Aurora Heather yarn from Knit Picks. I dearly love this color. I had to struggle not to buy more of it this year, but I went into my sweater chest and I have 4 full-size green sweaters. Okie dokie, maybe not. So maybe no more green sweaters for a while. I mean, I shouldn't say full-size. I have a vest, which you may have seen. That's the one I finished last week. I have a crop, the beautiful Ducat. I have the Agnes sweater that I'm wearing now. And I have a boxy in worsted weight. Well, actually DK weight. So I don't need any more green. But I had all this leftover stuff. I had about a skein and a half. So I made a bandana cowl. This is a pattern from Pearl Soho. And the link is in the show notes. And I just love these things that they're basically a one skein project. And they're a lot of fun. They're made for bulky yarn, but I've made them in all different sizes of yarns by changing needle sizes and cast on numbers. So I made this one. It looks like it's probably going to go to Twin Face. Because even though I like it, I just can't feel warmly attached to it. She was saying how she likes cowls that are close to her neck. I don't know. She doesn't like to wear things that are circles around her neck because she has this thing that if she gets attacked, it could be used to choke her. Why my twin is expecting to get attacked in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, I couldn't possibly tell you. I mean, I was seeing patients, and I have to be careful about wearing that kind of thing around patients. Even I don't worry about it that much. But she may get it, she may not. I don't know. It's very, very pretty. It's also led me to ponder. I have a considerable amount left, not quite enough to make another bandana cowl, but I started looking at my lone skeins of worsted weight and realizing here I sit with Mary Jane Mucklestone's wonderful book, on Fair Isle motifs, and this would be such a nice little palette to do some Fair Isle stripes, you know? So anyway, I'm thinking about it, but I did get one bandana cowl done, and it is in a very pleasing dark heathery green. So strangely, I have a finished object today. Meanwhile, in progress, the Spectrum socks, I'm sort of stalled on the foot of sock number 1, just because I haven't been paying much attention to it, so stay tuned for that. Bought the gorgeous Wild Lettuce shawl by my buddy Fickle Knitter, alias Michelle Miller, link in the show notes. I'm so excited. I'm on repeat 8 of the body, and there are 8 repeats on the body, so I'm about 8 rows away from moving on to the knitted on edging. And let me give you a little wisdom. This is about the easiest shawl a human can make. And it comes out looking much more sophisticated than it is. And it's so easy. And the body pattern is so easy and so logical. And let me tell you right now, if I had not put lifelines in this sucker, I would have ripped it out about 4 times. So every time I finish a repeat of 10 rows on the body, I thread a lifeline through. And somewhere in repeat 7, somewhere in repeat 6, I think in repeat 4, repeat 2, like twice, I have no idea. Well, I do. Actually, I'm a psychologist. I can tell you why I'm sucky at this. Because staying focused is not my strong point. That's one of the reasons I like to knit lace, because it forces me into focus and mindfulness. So if you need some mindfulness practice, if you're feeling that need, and I always am, may I heartily recommend Michelle's shawls. The thing is, it's a gorgeous shawl, and I'm really enjoying it, but I have really gotten out of the hang of lace knitting. And I'm also keenly aware why I liked so much to knit lace. I am having a blast on this in spite of my occasional grievous errors. And I've gotten much better at things like, well, in Michelle's patterns, you always knit the odd numbered rows, as far as I know, and then you purl back all the way. And I would make terrible mistakes in the purling back. And so I finally learned to pay attention when I'm doing those purl rows, the even number rows, and to carefully chant the pattern as I go to make sure I'm actually getting the right stitch count. And then I get the right stitch count. And then I go on to the next row, and I've got one extra bloomin' stitch by the midsection. I don't know. I don't care. It still looks good. I don't see mistakes on it when I look at it. It looks fantastic. I'm so excited to finish repeat 8, which I hope I will finish sometime this week. And I'm having this great debate. It's in a very, very dark blue MCN sock. And I've got enough to do the whole shawl, but I keep looking at it and thinking, Zauberball in spicy colors for the knitted on lace. Would this ruin it for me wearing it with anything except white shirts? At the same time, oh, by the way, did I mention, no, I don't have any white sweaters to wear this with, but oh, it's so pretty. We'll see. I'll probably go on and soldier forth in more of the MCN in the dark blue. Twin Faces vest. We're on skein number 2. I restarted it in a smaller size. I was doing the ribbing and getting quite nervous that it was too tight. And now I've gotten on to the stockinette body and it looks great. This reminds me to say, dun, 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 Ann Budd actually liked my vest made from her pattern in the Knitter's Handybook of Patterns and invited me to join her group, Bud's Bud, her forum on Ravelry, which I'm sure she's invited thousands of people considering how many people have used her patterns. Ann Budd is really interesting because she makes normal clothes out of knitwear. That the latest thing she had posted was a pattern for a Henley shirt with a waffle pattern and a set-in zipper. And, you know, this isn't Sweater 101. This is feel comfortable putting in a zipper. She has a little special noodling to make covers for the zippers with your knitting. And I looked at it and I thought, yeah, I feel like I could do that. Cap sleeves, a little bit of tailoring work. I don't think I'm going to, but I'm such a fan of Ann Budd just for the sake of the Knitter's Handybook of Patterns. So anyway, I was very pleased to get a message on Ravelry from Ann Budd. She's absolutely one of my knitting heroes because if I had written the Knitter's Handybook of Patterns, like a book that monumentally useful to the universe, I would never feel like I needed to knit or write again. I would feel like I had done my service for a lifetime. So that was cool. And Twin Faces vest, she has not sent me back the first version, which was way too big. So she said, why don't you just send me the second one and I'll send them both back to you? And I said, no, because I want the first one back. So I made up some absolutely fatuous excuse. And because she is an intelligent woman, she carefully did not say, you know, that's an absolutely fatuous excuse you're making up right now. So hopefully she will get that back on the Pony Express to be walked out to me from North Carolina. But we are on skein number 2. This one is so much smaller that I'm getting way farther up the body on the second skein, which is great because I thought it was too tight when I was doing the ribbing, but I measured the stockinette section and it looks really great. It looks like it should have about 2 inches of negative ease, which is about what I am shooting for. The temperature blanket, I'm so happy with it. I love it so. It's up to date, more or less. I think maybe it's like 2 days behind right now. When did I bring it up to date? I think I brought it up to date Thursday night, and this is Sunday. I just love this so much. I do. And this leads me to tell you, PMAX 17, if you're out there listening, awesome. In the notes to episode 15 on Ravelry, PMAX 17 said, oh, I bought that kit, and I actually made the Hue Shift Afghan. And it's so gorgeous. It really is. Oh my goodness. So I didn't feel comfortable stealing her photo of her beautiful finished Afghan, but I put a link in the show notes so you can go look at it on her Ravelry finished projects. Oh my Lord. At the same time, I just love my temperature blanket, but I have to tell you, it's going to be a real challenge not to buy yet another kit and make a Hue Shift blanket because it is breathtaking. Okay, but meanwhile, I have bought extra skeins of my yarns. And then in the green sale, I believe I bought even more extra skeins because some of the colors I'm using were green toned and are on sale right now in the St. Patrick's green sale at Knit Picks. So you say, with all these beautiful projects, good heavens, Gemma, what would you be wearing today? Well, the picture's in the show notes. We got winter back. Yay, more darker bluish tones in my temperature blanket, just saying. So it was bloomin' freezing all week. So if you look, you will see a picture of me. I didn't do a close-up. It's a shame, I should have for that cowl. I'm wearing my calm cowl that I made in 2 different Malabrigo yarns. There is the most beautiful color, Fortaleza, that they don't make in Malabrigo Rios. I have no idea why not. Really makes me crazy because they make it in Worsted, Malabrigo's Worsted. And Worsted is a single ply worsted weight. I don't knit in single plies because you break 1 ply and it's over. I just don't like knitting with a single ply. And I say that with honesty because I am a spinster and I know whereof I speak. It is not for me. However, there I was with this sample skein of it because I'd looked at it for making Twin Face her sweater. She loved the color. Unfortunately, I'm not knitting a sweater in a single ply yarn. That's just an invitation to moths to ruin your life. So instead I took it and I calm cowled it. I only had 1 skein. So I had a spare skein of the colorway Lotus in Malabrigo Rios. The interesting thing, when you put these 2 together, I crocheted the entire skein into a calm cowl, and then I added the Lotus at the end. So really, this cowl falls into 2 halves. One side, middle to edge, is Lotus, and the other side, middle to edge, is Fortaleza in Worsted. And I love it because it's calm cowl. You double it, so when you fold it, you get all these stripy looking things. So it's very beautiful. The interesting thing was the Lotus made the Fortaleza look very blue. Without the Lotus, it looks very green. So definitely you match it with something else and it affects the color. I'm also wearing my Agnes sweater in this picture. And the Agnes, I can't recommend it enough. This is just an easy go-to first sweater in bulky yarn, raglan, top down, just as easy as a sweater will get, and the results are so enormously satisfying. It has pockets, allegedly. I didn't make them. Deeply grateful I didn't. I don't think they would have fit in well. I think it has just enough negative ease that the pockets would look like wacky little pouchy bulges down around my waistline. So yay, no pockets. So without the pockets, the Agnes is just a straight up wonderful top down raglan sleeve sweater. And it's a great first sweater. It's so great that I bought yarn at the Knit Picks Valentine's Day sale in red. It's actually in a garnet. And I'm going to make another Agnes because I think I knocked out my Agnes in like 10 days. It goes really lickety-split, especially if you don't do the pockets. I am wearing a homemade dress that is a drop-waisted pattern. You can't see the bodice because it's covered by the Agnes sweater. But it's a drop-waisted dress. And the reason I'm wearing it is if you could see up close, you would see that those are little cats. And some of them are wearing pearls, and some of them are wearing bow ties. It was the cutest fabric I'd ever seen. They had just enough when I bought it in 1993 in the fine whale corduroy section of Joann Fabrics to make this dress. This dress is a classic style. Simplicity used to make it. I don't think they issue it any longer. But you can find all sorts of boutique pattern designers who have this dress. And I highly recommend it because I made it for myself when I was about 33 in 1993 or 94. I'm wearing it when I'm 60. Now that's a classic. Also, isn't it nice I still fit into it? Blame keto. I'm also wearing my burst socks from Onyx Fiber Arts. And they're wonderful. You've seen me wear them a lot, but I just thought I would show them to you. Now, Dizzy Blondes, nothing happening. Waiting on the electric eel wheel. Lisa Souza, link in the show notes, just put out a really beautiful, I believe it's a Polworth silk blend fiber braid, or bat, and I think it's in these red oranges. I'm such a sucker for red oranges. But anyway, just saying, all I could do was write to her when she posted that on Instagram and said, did you really have to do this? Because I'm trying not to buy more stuff. But yeah. I'm also trying not to eat chocolate. And put a lid on it, you'll see how that's working. So the strategy. Now, you may remember that we are doing distress tolerance behaviors from dialectical behavioral therapy. DBT, my beloved favorite brand of cognitive behavioral therapy, my beloved favorite brand of therapy. And we got through ACCEPTS, the acronym that is when you are distressed, you must accept that you are distressed and distract yourself. Although there's an S on that accepts. And we're now on improve, which is, so you can't distract yourself by walking away or getting out of the situation. So you got to sort of stand there and tolerate the situation. So you improve the moment. What do I do right now while I'm kind of stuck? You know, those classic moments where your boss is chewing you out or telling you how you did something wrong and you know you didn't, so you're just enduring it till it's over. Yeah, that's what improve is for. That's what I like to think of, because I'm about 1.5 years out of the job. Oh, I just passed my 2nd anniversary out of the job from Hades. And boy, you know, a bad boss leaves a lasting impression, although at this point she's more of just a strange joke. At any rate, I think of her every time I think of this. So we are on the M. Last week was the I, which was imagery. Use imagery to write, I can take it across your boss's forehead, etc. The M stands for meaningful or meaningfulness. That is, give your situation meaning. Remind yourself why what you're going through has a value, assuming it does. So sometimes you can't. I mean, this is not one you get to use all the time. But let's say, I'm trying to think of a good example. So I'm baking and I drop something on the floor and I go, darn it. And I realize I'm going to have to toss it. But I might say to myself rather philosophically, well, you know, that will teach me not to put the dish that close to the edge of the counter. So what I'm actually doing is putting some meaning in it. Like, this wasn't a wasted experience, despite the fact I'm going to have to start over. I've learned I really shouldn't take chances like that. And that's on the simple end of the spectrum. You know, so you're having an argument with your partner, with somebody you love, and they're just being unfair. And you look at them and you might look at them and say, you know, this is kind of who they are. They're going to get over this and be really embarrassed about it. But, you know, I'm going to stand here and be kind, because what I'm doing right now is making a small sacrifice for the value of our relationship. I'm just going to take one for the team here and it'll be okay, because I know in the long run, I love this person. Now that's sort of taking a larger perspective as well. But that's giving meaning to it. Sometimes we just suck it up because we know that it's better for the relationship to kind of suck it up. And we realize that later on we'll be able to sort this out. So that's giving meaning to a situation. And you do this much more often than you probably realize. We do it with sick friends. There is nothing like hanging out with a person in a hospital bed who's not doing well. And you have to constantly say to yourself, this is really hard, but this is really important because this is making her feel so much better. Or this is so important that I show my loyalty and my friendship. That's the M. That's meaningfulness. You're giving meaning to a difficult situation. As you can tell, the whole IMPROVE acronym leans a little more towards the spiritual and philosophical, because it kind of assumes you're stuck in a situation, that you can't simply distract it or walk away from it. Okay, put a lid on it. Well, now you all know I'm keto, and you know I'm loyal to keto because it's the only diet I've ever been on that worked. I've kept 65 pounds off for the last 3 years. I'm coming up on my 3rd year anniversary of my diabetes diagnosis. I can't remember if it's this month or next month, but I've got it on my calendar. I'll let you know. So, yes, it was a cheerful 3 years ago that I finally got a doctor to say, hey, you do have diabetes and hypothyroidism. And it's been an interesting ride, because you find out things like once you have diabetes, all doctors talk to you like you have one foot in the grave, even if you don't. So my A1C is in the normal range, my sugar, but that doesn't stop them. So one of the things you hear all the time in keto is, well, I tried that, but it was too hard. That is not a ridiculous response. It is more a response of, wow, I wish I could have helped you through that. Because when I tried keto, I was told you're going to have 2 weeks of keto flu, which is flu-ish-like symptoms because you're switching over to keto. And it didn't go on for 2 weeks. It went on for 2 months. It went on for weeks and weeks. And finally I found it was because I had a shortage of electrolytes. And a guy named Ken Berry on YouTube, a medical doctor in Tennessee, was the one who taught me that. He said, if you don't know what to do, just drink some broth with electrolytes. Like, get yourself bouillon cubes. Sure, they're processed, but they don't have sugar in them. But anyway, I used bouillon cubes. I had a cup of bouillon cube broth every night for a week, and that completely ended keto flu for me. So for me, it's very much about keep eating salt, keep eating electrolytes. And you have to remember, while most Americans have very high salt in their diet, I don't. Because I eat keto, you don't unwrap your food. You're not eating processed food. So you're not eating any salt, you're not getting electrolytes. So you have to eat salt. You have to add electrolytes. Or believe me, keto flu. Did I mention keto flu? So a lot of people get stopped by keto flu. And I understand that because it was a grind for me. The other thing was I was detoxing unbelievably hard when I went keto, that I had more garbage in my body. And I was just miserable for weeks. And it was really this fact that I would lose 9 pounds a week, which led my then doctor to accuse me of binging and purging because he was a psychiatrist trying to pass as a general practitioner, something I've never figured out. Most general practitioners would accuse me of having cancer. But because he's a psychiatrist, he didn't go for cancer. He went through the whole, you're anorexic, aren't you, thing. And it's like, do I look anorexic? I was 60 pounds overweight, man. But no, I mean, I literally lost weight that fast. It took me, it slowed down, but I think it was 9 pounds a week for the first 3 weeks. And then I lost it at a slower rate, but I was dropping like a pound a day. And everybody kept saying, you're losing weight too fast. Oh, no, I wasn't. I felt so much better, and that's what kept me going. Even with keto flu, I could tell my body aches and pains vanished, and a lot of my tendinitis and inflammation vanished. And I stopped looking like a pillow that somebody inflated with an air hose, you know? So, yeah, I'm very loyal to keto, but I will tell you, it's a transition when you're getting used to it. And one of the things you hear is, well, you just can't eat anything. It's way too restrictive. No, it's not. But you really do have to learn how to do the handoffs. First thing about keto is you're going to find out all your emotional eating. You're going to find out all your mental attitudes about food. Then I found out I didn't have any problem not eating pasta, rice, or flours, any of them, or beans. First of all, can't even digest beans. But what I found was I regarded food as this reward system for myself. And suddenly I had very few rewards. And cooking and baking and being a foodie were all rewards. So there was a huge emotional attachment I had to move past. However, today, now that I've told you all that, here and put a lid on it, I thought you might want to know what you do in cold weather when you're keto, why you drink hot cocoa. But you say, Gemma, you can't drink milk. No, you can only drink heavy whipping cream. So I'm just going to give you the fundamental recipe for keto hot cocoa. The thing is, you use unsweetened cocoa powder and you add it to your mix in a 1-to-1 proportion with a sweetener. My sweetener of choice is a thing called Swerve. Yeah, this thing looks processed. It's erythritol and oligosaccharides, I think. Anyway, it doesn't change my sugar index at all. It doesn't make my sugar go up. It's the one sweetener I can eat happily besides stevia. I love stevia, but stevia, if you overdo it, gets bitter. But anyway, I'm a big fan of the Swerve. You can get it, believe it or not, at Walmart, among other places. Amazon, you can order it online. And so I use 1-to-1 sweetener and cocoa powder. And then in the liquid part, I use 1 part of heavy cream to 2 parts water. So you're going to get out of this, a pinch of salt if you like. Just a pinch, don't overdo it. But salted chocolate, never a bad thing. But you're going to get out of this a very creamy hot cocoa. It doesn't taste like standard hot cocoa, which is much thinner. And I like standard hot cocoa, and I used to like it better than I like the keto version. The recipe's in the show notes, the proportions anyway. But you really don't drink milk because milk has milk sugars in it and lactose. And the more fatty and processed milk is, the less lactose. So the only liquid milk product I enjoy is heavy whipping cream unwhipped. Although I do sometimes whip it as well, because whipped cream, it's always a good thing. And I don't sweeten it the way Americans tend to do. But beyond that, you can eat cheese, but again, the harder the cheese, the more processed it is, the better it is, and the less sugary it is. Cheese is one of the hard things for me because I really like soft cheeses better than hard cheeses, but I would not say I'm suffering. So it is strange because the other thing that goes on in keto that you should realize is all those foods you think you're going to crave, you don't crave them. And you know why? Because you're eating enough healthy fat. When you eat enough fat, you don't have room to be hungry. So I thought I could never live without pasta after an Italian childhood. You don't even notice that it's missing. Because you're eating enough fat, you're always comfortably full. And that gets rid of 99% of your food cravings. The other 1% is your emotional attachment to food. Just saying. But the whole point of that was to tell you how to make keto hot cocoa. And it's simply proportions 1-to-1 sweetener and cocoa powder, and then 1 part heavy cream to 2 parts water heated. Do not allow it to boil. And whisk the sweetener and the cocoa powder into it if you want the most dissolving action. Oh, let's see. Oh, shoot. Well, that's been going pretty well. I'm walking and I'm tracking my steps. I'm not doing 10,000 a day. I'm looking into ways to do 10,000 a day. Way number 1, I was thinking about getting a freestanding little elliptical. You can get them at Target for like $130. It's just pedals. You stand on it, you hold on to something if you need to, and you pedal. And the things work just fine. Your arms will swing in space, so you don't get the stabilization of an elliptical machine. You probably need to brace yourself and hold on to something with your hands, like the edge of a chair or something. But they look pretty good. A friend of mine got one and is really, really happy with it. The other thing was I thought it's time to buy the Hoka Hokas. I looked at my running shoes and said, these guys are dismal. And the really disturbing thing is I had custom-made inserts, and those things are worn flat after about, I don't even know how many years. Good Lord. Something like 9 years. I just killed them. So I want to go back to the store in Encino, down in the San Fernando Valley, where they actually have the machine that makes the custom inserts. They're not cheap. They were like $90, and I'm really happy about that. I don't mind paying that because nothing fits you like custom inserts. I'm afraid they no longer have Mr. Machine because they were talking about how they will help you to buy pre-made ones. I've used those. They've been okay, but I much prefer. I've had 2 sets of custom-made ones, one from a podiatrist and one from this shop. So I have an appointment to go down and get fitted. Although I already know it's Hoka Hokas. I can't wear New Balance and I can't wear Nike because they both make my heel tendon go south. So I love Hokas, and I have to wear heavyweight shoes because I'm heavyweight, even though I'm 60 pounds lighter than when I last ran routinely. So tomorrow is the Great Hoka Quest, so everybody wish me well. Ooh, we're in our new segment, Gemma's Fluffy Books. Well, I am still reading Medicus by Ruth Downey, all the links in the show notes, and I'm really enjoying it. Ruth Downey has a gift for not doing what some authors do when they write historical mysteries, which is they dwell a little too much on the details like, hey, looky, I read an encyclopedia article on what a Roman military camp in Britain looked like, and now I'm going to exhaust you with my descriptions of it. She doesn't do that. She writes it from, I think he's Gaius Petraius Russo, from his point of view, and she makes it sound like normal thoughts, not like, say, let me think to myself in excruciating detail what all this place looks like, down to articles of description you would never think about if you were a normal person walking around a camp every day. She has the gift of not doing that. So I've been really enjoying it. I find at moments the protagonist's thinking is a little hard to follow, but I'm enjoying the characterization a lot. And one of the things she really gets well is the international nature of the Roman Empire. So there's not a sense of racism. There is xenophobia. The Romans clearly think the British are kind of daft, and the British do not like the Romans. They just think they're worth living off occasionally, but they're not nice people, and they're very stupid about some things. And she introduces other international characters, and there's no sense of a character screaming, hey, look, it's a person from this exotic place, and they have a different skin color, and blah, 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 blah. Like, the American sense of racism and race consciousness isn't there. These are characters who live in an international community, and they take it all for granted. And the one thing that they care about is, are you a Roman citizen? Because that gives you certain legal status. So it's very interesting to watch it, and I kind of appreciate that feeling, that I don't feel trapped in 21st century Americanisms. Well, let me be honest, racism, okay? So I've been enjoying that. Now, another series I just caught up to is the series by Anna Lee Huber, and the first book is The Anatomist's Wife. It's the lady, it's more from her perspective, so I actually can't think of her first name. It's Lady Darby. And anyway, the premise is a little annoying, that she's lived through this scandal after the death of her first husband. And everybody in Edinburgh and in London view her as somewhat scandalous, and the upper class, it's slightly post-Regency, it's about 1830. The upper class, of course, is a very limited group, and they circulate, and they all pretty much know each other. But you do get tired after 9 episodes of her life of, oh no, my scandal's catching up with me again. That gets a little bit old. However, the characters are attractive, the plots are good, and she's slowly building a cast of characters that are very, very likable. So, apart from this whole thing about I can never live down my scandalous past and its trauma, that gets a little bit old, but still, it's a good series, and I've been enjoying them. They're slightly on the grim side for historical mysteries, but I quite like them. So that's the Lady Darby series by Anna Lee Huber. Something I really like, Frost Beard Candle Company. I just found these guys, and I got my first candles a few days ago. And Frostbeard, they seem to be in Vermont. It's a husband-wife team with a small child, and they're very inspired by books and literature. They popped up on my Instagram feed, and I just adored the fact that they were doing all these candles based on famous settings in books. I didn't recognize all of them, okay, because I'm not the greatest reader of popular fiction. So I've never read Game of Thrones, but I'm willing to bet those were some of them. But they had a lot of Harry Potter environment-themed candles, like Christmas at Hogwarts, which is a Christmas-scented candle, holly, berry, and pine. They had the Burrow, which I think was Weekends at the Burrow, which is very pumpkin-y. What I really like about these candles is their soy wax. They're not paraffin-based. Paraffin-based candles will be less expensive, but when they burn, you're putting oil products in the air for your whole family to breathe. So I really like that the Frostbeard candles are soy and they're not going to pollute your home as you burn them. And they're using essential oils. So I've been enjoying the Frostbeard candles, and I will try to put the link in the show notes for you. So on to the blather. And it's been cold. It got cold. We got snow. We got very little snow, mostly on the mountains slightly above us. But it's been fun. And so we go out every day and we feed Roxy the pony some carrots to let her know that we still love her in the wintry weather. She doesn't seem to mind at all. She's nice and furry and happy out there. And so I just have some pictures in the show notes of my beloved son feeding her through the fence. And it was just a lovely week. If you look at the top of the show notes, I've got a picture of the insanely beautiful clouds snowing on the mountains 2 canyons away from us. We're looking out on something called Shannon Valley, and then past a little ridge. Let me think. I believe it's Escondido Canyon, and then there's Soledad Canyon, and you can see snow falling on the mountain between Escondido Canyon and Soledad, and the cloud formations are just breathtaking. So it's been very, very cold up here, but very, very beautiful. And I've been enjoying wearing this burst of knitwear because of it. I also have recognized that in my own sweater chest, I've got 4 green sweaters, as I've said. So I'm now looking into, I need to knit that garnet sweater. And I also have yarn, Malabrigo Rios, in Wales Road, which I seem to recall is mostly blues with a hint of teal. So I think it's time to get serious about perhaps another brick in that, and then the Agnes in garnet. And you will notice from this, as you will notice from my socks, that I'm the world's most boring knitter. I just keep knitting the same patterns over and over again. However, I'm getting interested in doing yoke sweaters. I'm starting to look at a beautiful pattern that a dog sledder, an Iditarod frequenter, has knitted all these patterns and designed them bottom up, strangely, but they're Nordic in Loppy yarns. And she's designed them with these giant dog paw prints on the yokes. And I have to admit, I'm pretty intrigued by that. And I'm also intrigued by several of the patterns in the book I was reviewing last week, which is Knitting Magic, Harry Potter Knitting Magic by Tanis Gray. And there's some simply breathtaking yoked patterns and motifs for yokes in there. And I'm not at all intimidated by doing the math for a yoke. I think it's a lot of fun to do that and to calculate how to fit in some of the patterns. They've got one sweater that's all these different magical motifs, but the one that caught my eye is the silhouette of a cat sitting in a gold yarn, and the sweater is a dark blue background, a kind of, well, not quite navy dark blue, but a deep blue, shall we say. And I just thought that was so attractive, and I'm now yearning after a sweater with a yoke of these cats on it. So, meanwhile, from Tin Can Knits, I've got the Strange Brew pattern, which is coincidentally design your own yoke. So I'm thinking me and Strange Brew might sit down for a planning session, probably in the spring, thinking about next year, because I really do want to get through the garnet. The Wales Road, however, might be the perfect yarn for a background for gold cats, if you know what I mean. So I am beginning to plan the next range of sweaters. And of course, after we work out Twin Face's vest, then I have to just work out her arm length. So she will get a vest, probably for our birthday in September at this rate. And then she hopefully will get a sweater by Christmas. But I really want to get it right, because then once I have the magic numbers, I can always just knit her a sweater every year, and she is totally on board with that one. Although Twin Face is one of the great appreciators of knitted gifts. I could knit her literally anything and she'd be thrilled. And I'm just thinking that I can always do hats in the meantime. But I'm just thinking that ever after, I can make her throws and vests and sweaters, and she'll be always happy with them. And she will, and she'll wear them. She takes them very seriously. She's still wearing hats I made for her over 15 years ago, before I was even pregnant with my beloved son. So there we go. I think that's all the exciting news on the farm. Oh, one other piece of news. Jasmine Knitmore, sit down and control yourself. I've got vacation. I just requested it this week. From April 11th to the 20th, I go back. That should be a Sunday through a Tuesday I go back. So I am thinking about that, but before I can do the extended road trips I'm dreaming about, I need to get my windshield replaced and I need an oil change. So currently I'm working on those things. Now that I'm vaccinated, the dogs all need to go to the vets. The vet needs to come by and check the llamas and the horses and give them their shots. Eleanor needs a little work. She's got a genetic disease that makes her nose kind of crusty, so we need to get that treated. I need a dentist. We all need our glasses replaced. There's so much to do and so much to spend money on and time on. So I don't know. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with that vacation, but I'm working on it. But anyway, I'm kind of excited because I realized lately I'm not all that happy in my job. My job is great. That's not the problem. I'm just not all that happy because I'm tired. I'm feeling a little bit drained on the job. So hang on, April 11th is coming. And I I'm very relieved about that. I hope everybody's getting their stimulus checks and everybody's getting their taxes done. And once again, thank you, wonderful ladies, for the coffees, and thank you for listening. Please remember to get vaccinated as soon as you can. Please hang in there. I know making the appointment is hellacious, believe me. Hang in there. I'm rooting for you. But please get vaccinated. Please, of course, wear your masks, wash your hands, social distance. Most of all, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.